Today is Thursday, the 26th of September. It is a lovely, dreary, overcast, fog and drizzly kind of day here in Newfoundland, but other than that, it's all good. I have just been off work for the last 2 weeks almost, and I've been putting off filming a Flosstube video because I had other things to do, to be honest. There's no excuse. And there shouldn't be, because this is at my own whim or whatever you want to call it. Anywho, so I have filmed some clips throughout the last couple of weeks of stitching, which I will insert for you to see progress on those pieces here. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what else I've accomplished in the last week. Well, hello. So I am knitting this morning and I just wanted to show you where I am. This was where I put my progress keeper at the beginning of September. And I've knit all of this since then. So I'm doing pretty good progress. And I have actually, if I show you this part here, hang on. You can't really see it real clear, but there's a buttonhole right there. Ta-da! So I'm now getting ready to put in my second buttonhole, and I have to do, I think it's 15 buttonholes in total. And there's a buttonhole every 2 inches. So I still have quite a lot of stitching to do on this, but it's getting there. My 20 minutes a day is adding up. So this morning I've been working on this, and I have been watching Christine on Flosstube and doing laundry. Hi, so something I've been working on for the last week, I guess since about Friday the 13th, not even a week because today's only Thursday, almost a week, is the Edgar Allan Poe sampler. This is not a very good copy. It's just a black and white printed copy. I have a digital edition, I guess, of the Just Cross Stitch 2013 Halloween edition, and this pattern was in it. And it's a pull and design pattern chart. This is where I am. When I started at the beginning of the week, I just had, I think, the O done, maybe. I can't remember now. I'll try and insert a picture of where it was the last time. So I've stitched the rest of these letters, and my plan is to finish off the letters that are in this block and then put it away for now. I still have some stitches in here that need to get done too, that I left behind. There's only like half stitches there. But I just want to finish these letters. These letters, I don't know if you can tell, but all of this is stitched 2 over 2. But these letters are actually done 1 over 1. So the stitching is more dense, and it takes a lot longer to do because it's so teeny tiny. So I'm going to carry on with this and see how far I can get, and I'll let you know where I finish up. Good morning. It is Friday the 20th of September, and I am officially done working on this piece for this week, I think. I finished all these little teeny tiny 1 over 1 letters that are in this section where it says, "Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weekend weary." And the next section of letters is down here underneath the gate, where it says, "Quoth the raven nevermore," but that's not 1 over 1. So I'm glad I've got that finished, and I'm going to put it away at this point now, so when I pick it up the next time I can continue with the border and fill in the rest of this orange that goes in here around the lettering. So now that I have that one done, carrying on with Sampler September, I am going to, hang on, let me get this out. I am going to get out my, whoops, here we go. You can probably hear my husband's Harley. He's getting ready to go to work. I'm getting out my Pat Rogers ABC sampler, alphabet sampler. And I'm going to work more on this because I love the colors in this. And, you know, I'm halfway done. So I want to get some more progress in on it. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the next couple of days, I think. Plus Jay's Folk Witch. I'm going to pull that out again as well. And other than that, today is Friday and I'm off from work, and Friday off the grid, I typically try and stitch on Death by Cross Stitch, so I'm going to pull that out. So here is my Death by Cross Stitch. This is where I left off a couple weeks ago. I didn't work on it last Friday for Friday off the grid because it was also Friday the 13th, so I had pulled out my Edgar Allan Poe sampler instead. So this is where I'm going to pick up now. I'm going to finish this bottom border underneath here all the way across and then do whatever is in this corner. And then I'm going to take this off the Q-snap and move it so I can work on this last section on this last page for that row. So that is my plan for today. So we'll see how far I can get, and I'll check back in with you later on. So here we are. It is the end of Friday off the grid. I did manage to finish off the bottom border that goes all the way along this center section. I then moved my Q-snap over. I finished this section here. I think I had the line border already put in, but I didn't have this done. So I did that little bit, all of this lined up, so that was great. And then I finished stitching in this border. So all of that is now done. I'm done stitching for the day. And I'll pick this back up again next Friday. Actually, I might not, because Friday coming, I am going to a retreat over on Belle Island, which is a small island just off the coast here from where I live. Patty from Four Boys and NL Girl is hosting a retreat over there this weekend. Unfortunately, I have to work Saturday and Sunday nights, so I can't go for the entire weekend, but I am going to go over on Friday and stay the night, Friday night, and stay Saturday up until early evening, when I'll have to catch the ferry back in order to go to work. So yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to take this one with me or not, because I'm only going to be at the retreat for a day, so I have a couple other things planned I want to work on. Okay, so my Death by Cross Stitch, I just give you a quick little recap on that one because I can't remember what's in the actual clips until I go back and watch them. I did work on this. I finished the bottom border here. I moved the Q-snap over. I finished this bottom border and this corner piece, and I finished stitching down this section, and I just started this little piece up here. This is the last block on this row of stitches. There's one row left to go, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe there's 2 rows left to go. Could be jinxing myself. And it may actually be showing up a little bit navy blue there today instead of black. There you go, stitched 1 over 1, DMC 939. And that's where I'm going to leave this piece until next week. I typically work on that piece, I try to anyway, for Friday off the grid every Friday, but this Friday I am going to a retreat. So tomorrow I'm leaving to go to Belle Island, which is a small island just off the coast, the East Coast. just outside of the city of St. John's and the town of CBS, which is where I live. I can actually see the island from my back deck, but I had to take a ferry to get there. Patty from Four Boys and an NL Girl is hosting a retreat called Knitlantica. She hosted a retreat that was, I guess, specific to knitters and crocheters 2 weeks ago. And this weekend, the Knitlantica retreat is more for hand makers. So, you know, people who knit and crochet still, but stitchers, I don't know, any kind of hand quilting, what rug hooking, whatever. So I'm going to that. So I will be filming some of that and post a video just on Knitlantica when I get around to it. But there you go. All right, we're still recording. I thought it had turned off for a second. My Tapestry Sampler by Pat Rogers. I know I did show some of this when I pulled it out. This is where it is now. Please ignore my little Santa because I stole this piece of fabric from something that had been previously stitched on. What I completed during this round of stitching, I did this corner flower, which now turns the corner for the border. I did this flower. I added in the letter A. And I don't know if you can see, but there was a big swirly thing here, and which would be similar to this one here. The first color I put in, I miscounted down at the bottom as I was working my way up, and I ended up having to frog it all back because it was going to fool up the placement of the next flower, which would then on the way along throw the top border off, and I didn't want to deal with that or fudge it, so I just ripped it back out. So that's where this piece is. So that's the Tapestry Sampler by Pat Rogers. It is no longer available. I think it's an out of print chart. It was a unicorn chart for me, but luckily I managed to, thanks to another stitcher who knew I was looking for a copy, had found one on a Stash on Load site and managed to get my hands on that. So that's where that is. Now, last piece of cross stitching I'm going to show you is Jay's Folk Witch. I'm stitching this one 1/1 on 25 count fabric. That's what came with the chart when she purchased the kit from Gecko Rouge. I'm not taking this off my lap stand, so this is where we are. This page is almost done. I just have some confetti stitches left to fill in. And a large chunk of this page is done. I just need to fill in this around it. So I may take this to Knitlantica to work on the Saturday, but I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I can only go to the retreat for one night. I have to leave by Saturday evening at dinner time to catch the ferry back because I'm working Saturday night and I couldn't get out of that shift. So I'll get to go for Friday afternoon, night, and all day Saturday up to dinner time. So I'm going to take a cross stitch piece to work on, and I'm going to take some knitting to work on Friday night when we're sitting around getting to know each other. So speaking of knitting, let's pull out this big shawl, this big wrap that I've been working on. That's designed by Andrea Mowry. It used to be called the Yoga Shawl. She has since renamed it to the Everyday Shawl. This thing, people, this thing is growing hugely. This is where I put my little ladybug needle, what do you call that? Progress keeper. This is where I started at the beginning of September. I have now stitched all of this since then. There is a garter border down the side. This is all stockinette stitch. And I have also, oh, I don't know if you can see it, but I have also started the buttonholes. So there's 1, There's 2, there's 3. So I have 3 buttonholes done. I think there's a total of 14 buttonholes, 14 or 15 buttonholes. And then you repeat this garter stitch on the bottom, this chevron stitch on the bottom. I still have so much of this to do. I'm definitely going to be knitting on this over the weekend at the retreat. It's meant to be worn this way as a wrap, you know, around you. And the buttonholes, you can do them up so you can wear it as a poncho or, I don't know, an oversized scarf or whatever. But this thing is growing exponentially and I still don't see an end in sight. I'm hoping for an end in sight, but I haven't seen it yet. I think once I get the button, once I start the chevron border at the other end, I'll be like, oh, hallelujah. You know, that's going to be my saving grace. That's when I'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So that is my yoga shawl. I also have started a baby blanket that I'm crocheting. I want to get 2 baby blankets done as gifts, and I started one and I don't have it here to show because I only have a small section done. I'll try to insert a picture of what that's going to look like or what it looks like right now. That is the Rainbow Ripple blanket. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I can't remember the name of the designer off the top of my head right now, but that pattern, I have used that a number of times for baby blankets as gifts, and I love it. It's simple, it's easy to crochet, and it looks fabulous when it's done. And I just buy a couple of big balls of the, it's the baby, like sport weight yarn that Lion brand has out. It's an acrylic, it's nothing fancy, but I find with acrylic, at least using it for that sort of project, it's for an infant, right? So if they spit up on it, it gets dirty. You can just toss that in the washer and wash it and pull it out and it's still gonna look good. Like it's not gonna stretch or be wonky or anything. And the last thing that I have done, oh, there goes Maggie with her coughing fit. Maggie's doing good, by the way, for anyone who is wondering. My 12-and-a-half-year-old little shadow, she has developed a heart condition, and she also has a collapsing trachea. So the heart condition's under control with medication, but the coughing fits, she still has those periodically, like maybe a couple times a day. They're very mild. They only last a second or two, and she's fine, so she's doing great. Anywho, Newfoundland winters are very harsh, and skin is wanting to get very dry and chapped and horrible. And I love beeswax-based hand balms for the winter here. And in the summer too, actually, because I use it on my eczema. I have eczema on my feet. Anyway, I was tired of buying expensive hand balms. So I decided to make my own. Did a little bit of research. I purchased some pure beeswax, a little bit of shea butter, and some organic coconut oil, and some tea tree essential oil just because I like the scent of it, and it's also good for like skin that's inflamed or has issues with it. So what you do is you take your, if you want a lotion bar that you can pick up and hold and just rub it in your hand, and when the heat from your hands gets on the bar, it kind of creates this nice creamy lotion that's left over on your hands, you would mix equal parts of these. But if not, you need to add a bit more coconut oil than the other ingredients. So I melted all of this in like a glass Pyrex mixing cup in the microwave, or you could do it like a double boiler system. Put your glass pot in in some water in on a pot on the stove, but I just threw it in the microwave and heated it up. So, and what you're left with when you mix it all together is this really great hand balm. You can put it in anything. You can put it in these little tins. This happens to be a leftover tin from Burt's Bees because I had some of this before, which I liked. It smells kind of coconutty, but I've got a little bit of tea tree oil in there, so that smells almost like clean or fresh. And basically, I don't know if you can see this, but if you put enough coconut oil in, when you press with the heat, with the warmth of your finger, you can actually get some out and you just rub it into your skin. It is fabulous. Now, when it goes on, it looks a little oily, like it looks a little bit greasy, but once it's absorbed into your hands, like once you give it a good rub into your hands, it's all organic. There's nothing harmful in this. And once it's rubbed in, oh my God, it feels so good on your skin to start off with. But it's just a really, really nice moisturizer that doesn't really leave residue on anything once it's absorbed. And it lasts. So you can put it on your, like that little bit that I just took off of my finger, just did both of my hands, no problem. I've got some in little mason jars like this. I've got some in little pots that I can throw in my purse. The only thing I would say is that if you're out in the heat anywhere, don't leave it like in your car or anywhere where it's going to get too warm, because this will start to liquefy. And you don't want it running out in something that is going to, you know, harm or get on like upholstery or knitting. If you leave it in your knitting bag and the container's not airtight, and then you put your knitting bag in your car and it's in the sun, you wouldn't want this leaking out into your knitting. So there you go. That's the other thing I've been up to. So that's it. That is all for my update. I hope everyone is having a great couple of weeks. Enjoy your stitching and your knitting, your crocheting, whatever it is that you're working on. And I will pop back next week with a quick little update about Knitlantica, what I got up to, what I worked on while I was there, and any progress that I made. Have a great week, and we'll chat with you soon. Bye.